In a land of apple pie and baseball, there may be nothing more American than the good old American gun. In a country of 325 million, there are now enough guns to equip every man, every woman, every infant, and even a few dogs with one. And we keep buying. Last year, for example, in one state, Coloradans bought enough guns to give a gun to every Broncos fan at Mile High Stadium, even if that Mile High Stadium held 4.5 times more people than it does now. 342,000 seats to be precise. And while most of those guns will never be used in a crime, far too often some will be. In 2014, 10,945 people lost their lives in America on the wrong end of a gun. That's 30 people a day. Count suicides, which outnumbered homicides 2-1, and that year 90 Americans a day became part of a troubling statistic. We're so used to it, we barely notice milestones like this one. Most of us know 49 people died in a nightclub in Orlando in June. But how many of us know it took only 42 more hours for 49 more people to die as a result of gun homicides? The 49th victim after Orlando, a mother of 3 in Austin, Texas. So what to do? Some worry about so-called assault weapons, semi-automatic rifles mostly. Even if you stop selling them tomorrow and confiscated all rifles the next day, you'd only be getting rid of a weapon used in 3 to 4% of all gun homicides. Clubs and hammers kill more people every year in the U.S. than the big bad assault rifle. Also keep in mind, while 24-hour news networks make it seem like we've become a much more violent country, technically the homicide rate peaked the first year of Bill Clinton's presidency in 1993. Back then, there were at least 100 million less guns than there are now. Some suggest we need more laws, close the so-called gun show loophole, or limit magazine sizes, or bring back the assault weapons ban. Whether you agree with that or not one of those laws will put much of a dent in this fact. Every 2 weeks in the U.S., criminals murder 400 people with guns. 2 weeks, 400. That's generally the amount of people murdered by guns every year. In Portugal, the UK, Spain, France, Germany, and Australia combined. And don't forget, even if the U.S. banned all gun sales tomorrow, we'd still have more than 300 million guns. Enough for you, me, and everyone else. Even if you left over for your dog. And if you don't believe us, at least you should try to believe them. Or them. Or them. Or them.
They were pilots, paramedics, flight nurses.
No one here,
each of them precious,
needs another reminder of what's at stake.
Ronald Scott Rector, Missouri.
At the annual Air Medical Memorial Ceremony, the cost of the status quo remains all too clear.
He was our hope for the future. He was just 51. He was a father.
Beverly Rector lost her son last year. Surveillance video shows the fireball that erupted after impact. A federal investigation concluded the fire, and not the crash, killed him.
So once that fuel is ignited, no one has a chance.
We've already shown you other post-crash fires. Fires that only happened because of antiquated fuel systems that were never designed to survive an otherwise survivable crash.
It's a damn shame.
What is it going to take?
Well, it may take an act of Congress.
After our investigation, Congress wanted answers, and so did we. Yet for months, the Federal Aviation Administration denied our interview requests. So recently, we traveled to the one place we knew
what a beautiful spot that was.
People with the FAA would undoubtedly be. A massive and annual air show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
My name's Chris Vanderveen. I'm a reporter of the NBC affiliate out of Colorado.
That's Jim Viola, the FAA's manager of general aviation. We'll get back to him in a moment, but first,
The helicopter just crashed.
more on a problem the FAA has sidestepped for decades.
I don't know if anyone's alive. There's a nice fire going.
Studies, many dating back to the 70s and early 80s, have repeatedly warned the FAA of the problem. Finally, in 1994, the FAA decided to act, but in doing so also created a massive loophole. And that allowed manufacturers to build thousands of new helicopters with the same old problem. vulnerable fuel systems.
The helicopter crashed.
Systems like the one that ruptured on a Flight for Life last year in Frisco, burning Dave Repsher on more than 90% of his body.
In 1980, the NTSB...
We were thinking of the flight nurse when we finally tracked down the head of the FAA at a Q&A session for pilots at that Wisconsin air show.
And there's an individual by the name of Dave Repsher.
It would become our first and to date only chance to talk to Michael Huerta.
My question is this. How much more studying, how much more time does the FAA need to address this issue?
This is something that we're actually very focused on now. I don't have a specific answer in terms of the when, but Peggy, I don't know if there's something that you would want to add.
Peggy never did get up.
It's something that we have a lot of smart people looking at.
One of those smart people.
You're a helicopter pilot yourself, right?
I am.
Jim Viola, the FAA manager we told you about earlier.
How much more time do you need before you say enough is enough?
Well, and that is the hard question to ask.
Maybe that's because he told us he decided a few years ago the only helicopters he would fly would be helicopters with the latest crash-resistant fuel systems on board.
I was at the point where I wasn't going to fly in a helicopter that didn't have the upgrade.
And that means a main safety manager for the FAA would refuse to fly close to 5,000 helicopters in use today.
And I don't want to look like a fool when I catch a skid and roll the helicopter and it catches fire.
Yet to date, the FAA sees no problem if others, many of them unsuspecting, decide to fly in one. People like Dave Repsher, who spent more than a year in the hospital.
What do you say to him?
That's where I said that change could happen. I mean, right now, industry can stop producing aircraft that don't have crash-worthy tanks.
Industry. The same industry that has waited 4 decades for guidance from the FAA. No wonder Rector is concerned about more fires.
Good people have to get off their rear end and do something.
And more reminders for a group of people in need of no more.
We have to speak up, otherwise we're not going to make any progress.
For next, Chris Vanderveen, 9 News.
Good evening, everyone.
If notes provide the letters to the words of the musician,
How good is Billy?
then consider Billy Wallace fluent in the language of jazz.
He creates arrangements right there on the spot, which very few pianists can do.
At 86, he knows each and every note to at least 4,000 songs. Give him a title, he'll play it.
I argue that he's got his own Google built in, his own iPad built in when it comes to the music. So if there's anything you'd like to hear, by all means,
Sid Harriet knows.
let us know.
If he had $1 for every time Billy didn't recognize a request,
Girl from Ipanema.
he'd be the opposite of a rich man.
Do you remember a song called Once in a While? If you can come up with a song that he doesn't know, you win a free trip to Afghanistan. One-way ticket, yes.
And yet, as talented as Billy is, Sid also knows
Where'd these come from?
his partner no longer recognizes the album he recorded not long ago.
And he said to me, I don't remember playing those. I said, yeah, you did a marvelous job, and they were all one take. He says, oh, okay.
To see what's down another road.
One is a psychologist,
and do it all again.
the other a jazz pianist.
And all the joy.
Not exactly a likely Denver duo.
Oh, I think we're an unlikely pair, for crying out loud.
They met 3 years ago in a club. Billy was on piano, Sid was in the crowd.
Sid is a good friend.
The psychologist and Sid diagnosed it not long after.
We have 100 sunny days a year.
300, yeah.
The misplaced facts.
No, I think it's 300.
Could be.
And the repeated stories.
Boy, this is a nice day today, isn't it?
Yeah. Denver has 100 sunny days. a year.
Is that right?
Dementia impacts 1 out of every 4 Americans over the age of 80.
Nice views. Boy, this is a nice park.
It now also impacts a man who played with some of America's best.
Illinois Jacket, Max Roach.
Charlie Parker, B.B. King. He remembers all of them.
Those are 2 interesting trees.
Yeah.
It's the other stuff he forgets. These days, every gig
And he is not outside.
requires patience.
Hey, Billy, this is Sid. I'm outside. Billy, this is Sid. I'm here to pick you up for the gig.
And at least 3 phone calls.
I'm outside. It's cold. Okay, you'll be right down. Thank you. I'll be waiting for you. One time I had to wait an hour and a half. He just doesn't remember.
Yet Sid knows without a ride, a man with such an amazing past might very well live his final days in undeserved obscurity.
It's the dilemma today with people who age.
Hey!
You know, they are designated for the back burner. That nobody else can. I do. Here he is, 86 years old. He's playing like he's 19. So go figure.
Yeah. Go figure. Those who study the mind, like Sid, say for some reason music lingers, stays with us long after dementia sets in.
Yeah. We know so little about it.
So little. Billy Wallace, the musician, remembers the notes to every song he's ever played, every one, and yet...
And the problem, I think, is that we don't appreciate until we don't have it anymore.
His mind often forgets where they played the night before.
Well, there's about 15 billion cells going on up there, and, it's going to take some time to figure them all out.
As for Sid Harriet, the psychologist, he's all too familiar with this. After all, his own father had dementia as well.
Yeah. You don't appreciate your family members until you no longer have your family members.
For here's to life and all the joy it brings. Here's to life, dreamers and their dreams.
Okay, Billy. See you then.
May all that should get better.
We're going down here.
And sometimes he knows when you're fluent in something.
Here's to you.
All you need in return is someone who speaks the same language.
That's a terrible chord that I just created. I'm sorry.
Chris Vanderveen.
I would fire me if I were you.
Yeah.
9 News.